and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about some Nerf news. We are getting a ton of blaster reveals. Not only is there going to be a ton to talk about within this video, but I'm sure there's going to be more stuff that's going to get announced, and I'm probably going to have to make a whole other video. So before I jump right in, the images that you are about to see, I'm going to go over the blasters one by one, but the images that you're about to see come from cnet.com. First, let's jump right into the new Nerf Loadout blasters. Now, what is Nerf Loadout? Nerf Loadout is essentially the N-Series take on Modulus. So all the blasters within the Loadout series will fire the N-Series dart, but they, unlike the first N-Series blasters, these new Loadout N-Series blasters will feature a lot more attachments. I'd imagine we are using the same barrel system that is present on the Shadow Storm, which is not actually N-Strike compatible, but I am fairly certain that we are still using the N-Strike stock attachment point. As far as the rails, they don't look quite N-Strike, which is certainly unfortunate if they turn out to be something completely new, but we'll have to see. With that being said, let's jump right in. First up, we have the Nerf Loadout Arctic Zero Striker. This blaster will retail for $29.99. It'll be available 7/15/2025. It is bolt action, and it will feature a 6-dart internal magazine. We have seen an internal magazine on the N-Series blasters, with things like the Shadow Storm. You will get some attachments with the Arctic Zero Striker, including a stock, a scope, a barrel, and a bipod. Overall, this is definitely not too crazy, but I do really like the look. Next up, we have the Nerf Loadout Cyberlight Ghost. This blaster will also retail for about $30. It will release 7/15/2025. It features a 6-dart cylinder. It is bolt action. This one will be a Walmart exclusive, and it has some interesting LED elements and clear elements, but unfortunately the darts are not going to glow up, so it does not have any kind of glow tech. As far as the darts go, it seems like kind of a missed opportunity, but we will have elements similar to the Modulus Ghost Ops line. As far as attachments with this one, you get a stock, you get a barrel, you get kind of an interesting optic, and you get this, in my opinion, pretty ugly dart storage in the form of something that sort of resembles a magazine, but if we zoom in here, it is very skeletal. I am not sure how well it's going to hold those darts. I really don't like the look, but this attachment will slide right onto one of these rails. Next up, we have the Nerf Loadout Flare Fusion. This blaster will retail for about $20. It will be a Amazon exclusive, releasing 7/15/2025. It is also bolt action and will also feature a 6-dart cylinder. As far as the actual functioning blaster here, it seems nearly identical to the previous one we looked at, except this one does not have any of the glow features. As far as attachments go, we get a stock, we get an interesting optic. I do not think we get a barrel, but we do get kind of an interesting rotary dart storage. I do think that the color scheme is pretty cool, but overall this is a pretty basic blaster, nothing super groundbreaking. Next up, we have the Nerf Loadout Frost Fusion. This blaster will retail for around $25 US. It will be an Amazon exclusive. It'll release 7/15/2025. But as far as the actual functioning blaster, it is essentially identical to the last two. It's bolt action and it features a 6-round cylinder. Though I will say this one looks particularly cool, and I do like that while we have this stock mounted under the grip, we also have a more standard stock attachment point. So that is pretty cool and kind of creative. As far as attachments go, we do get this stock, which has dart storage, we get a scope, we get a barrel, and we get another one of those, not super appealing to me, dart storage mounts, which, yeah, I really don't like how skeletal it looks. I doubt that it will hold the darts super well, and I find it silly that it looks like a magazine because it's not going to function like a magazine, and it just looks like something that's going to fall off or be bumped off very easily. Next up, we have the Nerf Loadout Shadow Speed Recon. This blaster will retail for around $15 US. It'll be available 7/15/2025. It will be a pump action blaster and will feature a 6-round cylinder. So this is a little bit different. We haven't quite seen this blaster in the N series, unlike the last few. Now this is less expensive than all the previous ones we looked at, but you do not get very many attachments with the blaster. You only get the magazine-shaped dart storage, which I personally don't like the look of. But overall, it's probably going to be a fine N-Series blaster for around $15. Finally, we have the Nerf Loadout Galactic Commander. This is the one I am most excited for. It's going to retail for around $50 US. It'll be available 7/15/2025. It'll come with two 18-round magazines, which I'm sure are compatible with previous N-Series magazine-fed blasters. The Galactic Commander will feature 3 firing modes, which is really cool. It's going to have a semi-automatic feature, a 3-round burst feature, and a full auto feature. This is really cool because we haven't seen Nerf tackle select fire since the Modulus Regulator, which came out in 2017. Now, I don't think it has been confirmed, but I do not believe it will ship with a rechargeable battery, so you likely are going to have to go out and buy batteries for this blaster. But even with that said, hopefully it has a pretty fast rate of fire and a very reliable select fire system. Overall, as far as the Nerf Loadout series, I'm personally mixed about it. I think there are a lot of elements to love, especially compared to the previous lineup of N-Series blasters. I definitely like that we're getting more attachments now, and we're seeing some really cool blaster design. But as far as what the line is trying to accomplish, which is to be tactical, as Coop772 would say, I just don't think it captures the same level of customization that Modulus presented. And I know this is the initial release, so that might sound a little bit harsh, but with Modulus, I felt like we got a lot more creativity with attachments. We got barrels that were scopes, barrels that hooked onto barrels, stocks that were blasters, rails that could hold more rails, that could hold more rails. If you look at what we had with the Modulus line, there was just so much creativity. It was super cool. Another thing to consider about the customization thing is that the Modulus line was all cohesive in color scheme. Well, it wasn't entirely cohesive. We had things like the Recon Mark II, which had an orange stripe, the Regulator had a blue stripe, and then most Modulus blasters had a green stripe. But they were all generally the same color. So when you took a barrel from a Modulus ECS-10 and put it onto a Regulator, it would look pretty good together. This line does not seem to be approaching the customization aspect from a cohesive place. All the blasters are different colors, so essentially it's going to be like the N-Strike days, when you had a blue N-Strike Elite blaster with limited attachment options. You'd often have to go and get a yellow N-Strike attachment to put on your Elite blaster. Some people really like the attachments looking different. I like the more cohesive look. It's totally subjective, but those are just my general initial thoughts on the Nerf Loadout series. Next up, we have some Nerf Gelfire blasters to talk about. First up, let's go over the smaller of the blasters. This is the Nerf Pro Gelfire Pronto. The Pronto will retail for around $20 US. It'll release 7/15/2025. It'll feature a pretty massive 800-round hopper. It claims 150 feet per second, and most notably, this blaster will be double action. So that is pretty interesting. That means when you pull the trigger, you are both priming and firing the blaster. We have seen this on a Nerf Pro Gelfire blaster. It was used on the dual wield pack, and while I typically really like the idea of double action, I think it is super cool. I'm not sure if I would like to double action my way through 800 rounds. That seems like a lot of capacity for a double action blaster. It seems like they're intending you to use this as a primary, whereas the dual wield pack was definitely advertised as kind of a secondary. So I'm not sure. This could definitely be pretty cool, but I would personally be concerned about the effort it'll take you to fire through that many rounds. Then we have the Nerf Pro Gelfire Warp Speed. The Warp Speed looks really, really cool. It is going to retail for around $70 US. It'll release 7/15/2025. It is also claiming 150 feet per second, but it will have a 2,000 round capacity. That is very impressive for a gel blaster. The previous highest capacity among the Nerf Gelfire line was 800 rounds, so this is more than double that. And even looking at other brands, 2,000 rounds is pretty incredible. And one of the reasons that it's going to have a 2,000 round capacity is the rate of fire. It is claiming a rate of fire of 20 rounds per second. That is really incredible. Not only is it easily the fastest Nerf Pro Gelfire blaster, but I haven't personally tested a blaster that could fire at 20 rounds a second. For reference, things like the awesome rival Prometheus fired at 8 rounds a second, the Hyperfire from back in the day, which was dubbed as the fastest elite blaster, fired at around 5 darts a second. Looking at other gel blasters, I don't think I've seen over 10 rounds a second. If it truly fires that fast, this blaster is going to be a blast, and I'm super excited for it. I did forget to mention that the blaster will also come with a rechargeable battery, which is super cool. The last electric gel blaster from the Gelfire line that we saw was the Uproar, and that took AA batteries. I am very glad to see us going back to the rechargeable battery. So yeah, I mean, these are some very bold claims, but I'm very excited to see the Nerf Pro Gelfire warp speed. Finally, we're just going to touch on some Dart Zone repaints. First up, we do have these 3 new Dart Zone solos. Unfortunately, these do seem to be Toy Fair exclusives, so we are not going to have access to them. But regardless, it's kind of nice to see what they look like, and yeah, I'm a big fan of these paint schemes. We also did get a look at these 2 new versions of Outlaw, which we had seen previously, but it's nice to get to see them in a couple other angles. They definitely look pretty good. We are also getting a Blue Venom Pro, which I am really liking the look of. The blue Dart Zone blasters have been some of my very favorite looking, such as the original Solo Pro, the limited edition Blue Mark IV, the Influencer Edition Nexus Pro, and yeah, this new Blue Venom Pro. I do believe they said that this Blue Venom Pro will be exclusive to dartzoneblasters.com. So that was all the news I have for today, but I would not be surprised if we got more news very shortly. What are your thoughts on all these new blasters, and which one are you most excited for? Thank you very much for watching, have a good one, and happy blasting!